Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some malicious compliance stories and our first story of the day is by Puzzle-Headed Dirt 78. Don't be Karen if you don't want to look like Karen. So I remembered a story of malicious compliance as recounted to me by a good friend of mine. My friend is a hairdresser by trade and works at a very upscale salon. I go to her myself and can attest to her being amazing. Anyway, this salon had one customer who had been passed around from hairdresser to hairdresser, bullying every single one she saw. This woman was an absolute holy terror. She made three separate hairdressers cry. The only reason she was still a client of the salon was that her mom was friends with the owner. She was a relatively young gal, maybe in her mid-20s, with very long bottle blonde hair, past her waist, that she insisted to everyone who wasn't her hairdresser was her natural color. It was very much not. She went to the salon religiously so no one would ever find out her secret shame. She blamed her hairdresser for all her hair problems, many of which were the results of heavy bleaching and how much heat she used on her hair and her refusal to follow care instructions, and was never satisfied with anything. So everything shuts down in our state and she screams at my friend to come do her hair for her because she can't have her boyfriend finding out she's not a natural blonde. Anyway, my friend refuses, and despite Karen's threats, she knows that the salon owner knows she's too darn good at her job and has too loyal a customer base to fire her. So she thinks no more of it until a few months later when the salon reopens. And lo and behold, who should appear in the appointment book but Karen? So the day arrives and Karen shows up with her hair dyed jet black, and not very well dyed either. My friend is shocked because Karen's always made such a big deal about being a blonde, and how even though she gets her hair bleached, she really is a natural blonde and just enhancing her color a little. My friend asks Karen what they were doing that day, and Karen demands to be made blonde again. My friend is like, okay, that's going to be a process, because this witch has used black box dye, which is really hard to get out. For those of you who don't know, getting dyed dark hair to blonde is usually something done in stages, so the hair has a chance to recover a bit between bleaching sessions to avoid breakage. Karen is like, no, I'm going to be blonde when I leave here today, or I'm telling your boss that you see clients at home sometimes and getting you fired. My friend sometimes does friends' hair at home for a lower price because she's a sweetheart, which her boss is fine with. And it's your fault I had to dye my own hair this color because my boyfriend would have seen my roots if I hadn't done something. My friend is tired of Karen's BS at this point, but it's a slow day and she has time. She explains to Karen that if she takes her blonde all in one go, her hair will be fried, and she'll likely end up having to lose a lot of length. Karen scoffs and rolls her eyes and is like, that's never happened before, and my hair's so healthy. I'm sure it'll be fine if you don't screw it up. Friend recommends at least using Olaplex, a product that helps prevent damage. Karen says she thinks it's a scam to overcharge customers and won't pay for it. Cue malicious compliance. Friend is like, okay, but it makes several coworkers be witnesses that this is what Karen is asking for after friend explained the risks. Friend meanwhile has formulated a fiendish scheme. After that, friend goes through the whole process of bleaching Karen's hair. She has to do it like 4 times or something, and she checks with Karen after each one that she's absolutely sure she has to be all the way back to champagne blonde by the end of the day, and recommends stopping at some of the nice auburn or strawberry blonde shades in between for now. But Karen insists her boyfriend hates her hair anything but her natural blonde. My friend knows she will refuse because when has a Karen ever decided at the 11th hour to be reasonable? With each bleaching, there's more breakage and Karen's hair feels worse. My friend knows Karen's hair won't survive this, but Karen absolutely refuses to let her stop. Eventually, at long last, my friend manages to get Karen's hair to the required level, and so she starts to rinse Karen's hair. It starts breaking off in her hand. The length of her hair is melted. fried, destroyed. My friend gets the bleach out and immediately conditions the ever-loving freak out of it while explaining to Karen that exactly what my friend said would happen has happened. Karen says she must be exaggerating and insists it's fine. Friend wraps what's left of Karen's hair in a towel and takes her back over to her station where she shows Karen the problem. Everything past a little beyond chin length is pretty much gone. Karen shrieks and accuses my friend of everything under the sun, incompetence, operating without a license. She most definitely has her license, a personal vendetta, etc., etc. My friend eventually calms her down and tells her she'll do her best to cut it so it looks decent for free. She even has the perfect cut in mind. It'll suit Karen perfectly. My friend gives Karen the sharpest, most beautifully cut angled bob you've ever seen. I've seen it thanks to my friend showing me the Karen's Insta, that despite the incredible precision and skill showcased, is unequivocally and perfectly the Karen. Blown out and styled to, "Can I speak to the manager perfection?" Karen starts crying because the cut makes her look 40. She wants to speak to the manager. My friend gets the manager and Karen throws a fit, threatening to sue and how dare they, and how his employee did this to mock her and so on and so forth, while my friend stands there looking completely innocent. The boss then asks friend her side of the story and the other hairdressers back her up, and that the cut is just her trying to make the best of what's left of her hair. Even the boss by now is sick of Karen's BS, and Karen is forced to pay the huge sum of money owed for how much time was spent bleaching her hair, much of which is now gone, and leaves, swearing never to come back. Her boyfriend, a cop, calls up later and threatens to assault my friend for doing that to Karen's hair against his wishes. And my friend tells him if he tries anything, she's going to tell his superiors and every news agency in the city. Nothing further happens, but he eventually dumps Karen because he doesn't like girls with short hair. Honestly, looking past the Karen thing, it's kind of disappointing to hear that she wanted to keep up all these appearances with her hair so specific just because it would keep her man around. Is there ever a scenario where a person is so perfect or so worth it that you would just allow them to completely dictate what kind of hair you can and can't have, or else they'd leave? Let me know in the comments down below, because personally, I don't think that that's okay. Our next story is by TJB2K3. Graybeard trucker just wants a place to sleep in his rig. So this just happened a few hours ago. Here's the setup. I work as a service writer for the service department of a semi-truck dealership, located at a highway exit where there are many such dealerships and truck stops. As such, we have a policy that trucks can only be parked on our front lot for an hour, and there is no overnight parking. This is very clearly posted. Our participants are me, my grumpy old retired US Marine coworker we'll call Thomas, and the slick graybeard truck driver we'll call Don. Something I should share about Thomas is that he loves to chase off trucks that park for too long on our lot. So I didn't even take notice when Thomas went to tell off yet another driver. This time was different though. This time, the driver didn't just leave. Instead, he comes in with Thomas in tow behind him, walking right at me. Now, Thomas has been with the company about 20 years. I'm new by comparison. Don introduces himself to me and begins to tell me how he works for the company that delivers trucks to us, and he is the guy who picks up the Z-bars they use to link the trucks together. If you've ever seen trucks on the road stacked up on each other, the Z-bars are how they're able to link the trucks like that. Anyway, he's insisting that he's parked out there to sleep for years. Nobody has ever said anything. This is strange since Thomas works nights and he would notice. Whatever, that doesn't matter. Thomas is right and the signs don't say, "No parking unless you're a vendor." I explain that to Don. Don pauses and looks past me to our lot full of trucks to service and asks the magic question. "So, what the heck do drivers that have trucks in for service do?" I tell him that if the truck is in for service, we allow the driver to sleep in the truck as long as we are open. We are open 24 hours a day except on weekends. Dawn, without a moment's hesitation, looks me in the eye and says, "I need my truck greased. I'll be right back." It was all I could do not to burst out laughing. As he was walking to the front door, I look at Thomas. He is livid. However, what has just happened is 100% okay according to company policy. The best part? Don had a trailer on his truck, so he had to park it. I had to inform him, per standard procedure, that I cannot put his ticket into the shop until he comes and tells me what spot he is parked in. I left work about 2 hours ago. I never saw Don again. I suspect he's sleeping like a baby with a huge grin on his face right about now. Slick gray beard is definitely a good way to describe Don. The problem here is the company had too clear of an outline of what gets you in for the night. You told this slick old man that, and shoot, he was able to just completely loophole the heck out of that right there on the spot. I hope he's having a good rest. Our next story is by CharGamerYT. Teacher gets exactly what she asked when I turn on my camera. Background: I am currently in high school, and we have Zoom meetings in almost every class every day for online school. I dislike it, especially having to have our cameras on. I get super self-conscious that anyone in my class could be looking at me and I wouldn't know. A user in the comments pointed out that it could be paranoia, which I think it is. Being paranoid is the best way to describe the feeling. My English teacher, who we'll call Miss Stevens, is super extroverted and loves to see her students. This is all fine and dandy, but she obsesses over it. She yells at kids all the time for not having their cameras on, as she wants to see you participating in the class. I personally don't think students should have to invite their class into their personal life for a grade. After a while, she got fed up with people ignoring her demands, so she started docking points for the day's assignment if you didn't have your camera on. I joined a meeting recently without my camera on as per usual, and I began working on the assignment. She stayed completely silent about my camera for some reason, which I loved for that class. I could work in peace. Later that evening, I get a notification on my phone that I got a 75% on today's assignment. This was terrible for me because it took my grade in her class down to a B, and I lost my 4.0 GPA. I emailed Miss Stevens and asked if it was a mistake or anything. She said something along the lines of, "I need to see you participating in the class, and because I couldn't, I felt it was necessary to deduct 25% from your grade." I don't have the email right in front of me at the moment. I told her that I didn't feel comfortable turning my camera on, which I feel is totally reasonable. She gave me a hard no and said, "Nobody is watching you in class, they are watching me because I am the teacher. You will get used to it eventually." I was pissed. All I want is a little bit of privacy. Sure, not all the kids stare, but we all have moments where we get lost staring. I decided I would turn my camera on, but I wanted her to regret it. I downloaded a super glitchy, flashy, bright, and disgusting glitch effect that I could put over my camera using a plugin for OBS that I found online. It lets you use OBS as your camera, so I could add whatever I wanted. The next day, I show up for the meeting and turn my camera on. A few minutes into the lesson, I turn on the glitch effect and lower the frame rate of my camera to make it look like I was just lagging. Miss Stevens asked what was happening, so I replied that, "I think my Wi-Fi is being slow or something." She moved on the lesson, but you could tell that she was starting to get annoyed by this constant flashing on her screen while she was talking. There isn't enough kids in the class for her to simply put me on another page, and I don't think she knows how to turn my camera off herself. I began to enjoy seeing her reaction, so after I finished my assignment, I started messing around with it a little. I started flashing random things on my camera like pictures of Shrek, memes, whatever came to my mind pretty much. She pulled me aside after class. Keep in mind my camera still had the glitch effect going, and she lectured me on how having my camera on like that was distracting me, even though I finished my assignment after only 15 minutes or so. I just said, "You wanted me to turn my camera on, so I did. You never told me what I had to have on my camera." She kind of rolled her eyes a little and just gave in. I don't have to have my camera on in that class anymore. She also apparently emailed my parents about me being distracting, and when I showed the plugin to my parents, they found it hilarious and didn't care all that much. I wasn't distracting any of the other students, and I was already done. No problems here. As a person that is very introverted, I totally get where OP's coming from. If I was in an online class like that, I would never want to turn my camera on. I wouldn't even care if it came off as paranoid, I still wouldn't want to do it. I definitely get it though from the teacher and the school's perspective. If kids aren't having their cameras on, a lot of the time they probably aren't going to be paying attention or just off doing something else and just kind of doing the absolute bare minimum just to get through the class. So really, it's tricky. Apparently, Zoom does have a feature called webinar or seminar mode where only the host can see everyone's camera, and that solves the problem, I think, altogether, because you don't have to worry about any other person seeing your face, just the teacher. And our final story of the day is by Hylas. I'm going to throw up. So I was always a super picky eater as a child. By picky eater, I mean I literally wouldn't eat. My parents would spend hours with me at the table just trying to get me to open my mouth, and I absolutely wouldn't. By the time I was 6 or 7, by which I'd largely grown out of this particular extreme, there were still things I would absolutely refuse to eat. My parents would try and pull the "if you don't finish your food, you can't get up from the table" trick. But I'd say fine and sit at the table for hours until they gave in. No phone, no TV, no anything. Just me, some vegetables, and a set of exhausted parents. This isn't the malicious compliance, but it's important that you know I was apparently totally capable of just saying no and sticking to my guns. Fast forward to a school trip. It's lunchtime and on offer, sandwiches. A couple of kids have cheese and onion sandwiches, but the rest of us are being offered, insanely, pate sandwiches. Now, I think this is a crazy thing to feed a group of 46-year-olds, but clearly the school didn't agree. Anyway, I ask if I can have a cheese and onion sandwich, and I'm told that no, I can't because I had to sign up for the vegetarian option in advance. Now, at this age, I have no idea what pate is, but I can see it and smell it, and I know it's not happening. I ask again for some cheese and onion sandwiches, and I'm told there's none left and I'm going to have to eat the other kind. I was an absolute model student up until the age of like 16. But there was this one teacher, freak you Mrs. Harris, who absolutely hated me regardless. Think, how dare you write in cursive when I haven't taught you cursive yet? She seized the opportunity, telling me not to be picky and saying I was holding everyone up and that I should just eat the sandwich. I'm poking this thing and the texture was totally freaking me out, my biggest issue with most foods. So I ask if I can just skip lunch. She says no, absolutely not, I have to eat and I have to eat that sandwich. I tell her that I'm not trying to be fussy, but that if I try and eat that sandwich, I am 100% going to throw up. Mrs. Harris tells me to stop being dramatic. I'm not going to throw up. I'm just a picky eater and I need to get over it. At this point, I'm thinking, you know what? Fine. This isn't actually my problem. I'm the child here. So I bite into the sandwich, and not 15 seconds later, I'm throwing up everywhere. No crap. Clearly, Mrs. Harris was not expecting this and she has no idea how to react. A bunch of the other teachers come over to check that everything is okay and she tries to explain to them what happened. Anyway, they end up having to call my parents, as was the throwing up protocol. And they're obviously like, why the freak did you force feed our child a lukewarm pate sandwich? In the end, they broke out the crisps and an apple because, unsurprisingly, there were things to eat other than meat paste and bread, and Mrs. Harris gave me a wide berth for a good few weeks. Until I put some dead worms in a girl's drawer for making racist comments, but that's another story. I'm not sure if it would have changed by now or not, but I really do feel like nowadays and how the current climate is and how children are handled in schools, if somebody said that they would not be able to handle food like that, they would probably be able to find some kind of substitute. I don't know why they're serving pate sandwiches. Maybe they were able to just purchase some kind of bulk, cheap tube of pate meat product or something. I don't know. It definitely seems peculiar to feed a bunch of children pate sandwiches. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So, which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here on the Storytime channel.